You were taught to give more to get more. You were taught that effort equals respect. You were taught that if you show up, stay consistent, and keep investing, people will value you. That was the lie. That was the social contract they sold you to keep you functional, controllable, and predictable. And while you were pouring yourself into people, opportunities, and situations that never gave back, someone else was doing less, saying less, and somehow commanding more respect than you ever did. You felt it. You watched it happen. And you told yourself it was timing, luck, or charisma. It was not. It was a strategy. It was scarcity. It was the quiet, calculated refusal to overgive. And you were never taught that because obedient people do not withhold, they pour, they prove, they perform, and they wonder why no one takes them seriously. Let me show you what happened. You stayed late at work without being asked. You thought it showed commitment, but your manager did not see loyalty. They saw availability. They saw someone who would absorb more work without pushing back. So they gave you more. And the person who left on time, who set boundaries without apologizing, who made their time feel finite, they got the promotion. You texted back immediately every time. You were always free, always flexible, always understanding. You thought it built a connection. It did not. It built convenience. And the moment someone more selectively available came along, you became the backup, the option. The person they reach out to when no one else responds. You helped a friend move, lent money, gave advice, and cleared your schedule. And when you needed something, they were busy, vague, suddenly unavailable. You were hurt. You felt used, but you were not used. You were predictable. And predictable people do not command reciprocity. They get managed. You were trained to be useful. You were raised in systems that rewarded compliance, availability, and niceness. The school rewarded you for sitting still and following instructions. Work rewarded you for doing more than your role required. Relationships rewarded you for being understanding, flexible, and low maintenance. You were conditioned to believe that the more you gave, the more valuable you became. That was the inversion. The more you gave without boundaries, the less you were respected, because respect is not built on generosity. It is built on scarcity, unpredictability, and the quiet threat of withdrawal. Machiavelli understood this 5 centuries ago. He knew that being loved without being feared made you weak. Being available without being selective made you disposable. You were never taught that. And because you were not taught that, you kept giving, you kept proving, and you kept losing leverage. This video will show you 7 psychological reversals, 7 moments where what you thought built respect actually destroyed it. Most of you will not finish this. You will feel uncomfortable. You will tell yourself, this is too cold, too calculated, too manipulative. That reaction is the residue of your conditioning. It is your obedience reflex. It is the part of you that still believes being good is enough. It is not. And the longer you protect that belief, the longer you stay in the cycle. If you are still here, put your phone face down, turn off distractions. This is not entertainment, this is recalibration. And if this hits you the way I think it will, write, "I am the strategist" in the comments once. Just once, to mark the day your frame changed. You assume people respect effort. You think that the more you do, the more you are valued. You show up early. You take on extra work. You go out of your way to help. You think this builds your reputation. It does not. It creates your role. And your role is not power. Your role is functional. The person who does everything becomes the person who is expected to do everything. You are not seen as capable. You are seen as available. And availability without resistance is not acceptable. It is access. Machiavelli said the prince must be feared and loved. But if he cannot be both, fear is safer because love is conditional. It fades when convenience fades. But fear, the awareness that you might withdraw, stays. When you overgive, you remove that awareness. You signal that no matter what, you will be there. And the moment someone knows you will always be there, they stop valuing your presence. Watch what happens in the workplace. The person who says yes to everything gets more work, not more recognition. They become the catch-all, the fixer. The personnel management does not have to think about it because they know you will handle it. You think you are building trust. You are building dependence. And dependence without leverage is slavery. Now watch the person who says no, who pushes back, who makes their time feel finite and their effort conditional. Management hesitates before asking them. They consider whether the request is worth it. That hesitation is respect. That is the gap you never created. You made it too easy. You removed friction, and without friction, there is no negotiation. Without negotiation, there is no respect. The same pattern shows up in your relationships. You text first. You make plans. You check in. You stay engaged even when the other person barely reciprocates. You tell yourself you are being consistent, loyal, and patient. You are not. You are available. And availability is not intimacy. It is optionality. The person who is always available becomes the person who is never prioritized. Because priority is given to what feels scarce, uncertain, or at risk of disappearing. When someone knows you are always going to respond, always going to be there, always going to understand, they relax. They stop trying. They stop investing. You become the emotional constant, and constants are not valued. They are assumed. You watch someone else, someone less giving, less available, less accommodating, get more attention, more effort, more pursuit, and you think it is unfair. It is not unjust. It is predictable. You gave away your scarcity. You made yourself abundant, and abundance has no value. Here is the mechanism. Respect is not a reward for goodness. It is a response to the boundary. When you set a boundary, you create a wall. And walls do two things. They protect you and they force others to adjust. The person who adjusts is the person in the weaker position. When you overgive, you remove the wall. You let people walk into your space, take your time, absorb your energy without cost. There is no adjustment. There is no negotiation. You gave them the path of least resistance, and people will always take it. Not because they are bad, because they are human. Humans conserve energy. They move toward ease. If you make it easy for yourself, they will drain you. If you make yourself difficult, they will respect the boundary or leave. Either outcome protects you. Now apply this socially. You are in a group. You are the one who organizes, who follows up, who makes sure everyone is included. You think this makes you the center. It does not. It makes you the assistant, the manager, the person everyone depends on but no one respects. Because respect does not come from utility, it comes from a presence that cannot be controlled. The person who shows up when they want, who contributes on their terms, who does not explain or justify their availability, holds more social power than the person doing all the work. Why? Because they have a boundary, they have unpredictability, and unpredictability creates attention. You were so busy being helpful that you made yourself predictable. You became the backdrop, the reliable one, the one nobody worries about losing. And when nobody worries about losing you, you have no leverage. Let me show you what leverage actually is. Leverage is not what you give, it is what you could take away. When people know you might leave, might say no, might withdraw your energy, they adjust. They become more careful, more considerate, more invested in it. When they know you will never leave, never push back, never withdraw, they stop adjusting. You become fixed, managed and leveraged against. This is why Machiavelli warned against being too generous. Generosity without limit does not inspire loyalty. It inspires entitlement. People stop seeing your giving as a gift. They see it as your nature, and your nature is not something they need to earn. It is something they expect. The moment you try to pull back, they do not see the boundary, they see betrayal, because you trained them to expect unlimited access. And now you want to renegotiate a contract you never set terms for. Here is the shift. Stop trying to prove your value. Start withholding to reveal theirs. When you pull back, when you stop initiating, stop over-functioning, stop filling every silence and gap, you create space. And space reveals intention. If someone does not reach for you when you stop reaching for them, they were never holding you. They were holding your function. That clarity is not cruel. It is necessary. You cannot build respect with people who only value what you do, not who you are. And the only way to know the difference is to stop doing and see who stays. Watch what happens when you go quiet, when you stop being the first to text, the first to call, and the first to make plans. Some people will not notice. That tells you everything. Some people will see and do nothing. That also tells you everything. And a small number will reach out, will ask, will adjust. Those are your people, not because they are better, because they see you as scarce. They see your presence as something that could be lost. And that perception, that awareness of potential loss, is what creates respect. You cannot force it by giving more. You can only reveal it by giving less. Now let me go deeper. You think silence is passive. You think withdrawal is avoidance. It is not. Silence is active. Withdrawal is strategic. When you stop explaining yourself, stop defending your choices, stop filling the air with justification, you shift the frame. You stop being the person seeking approval. You become the person whose approval matters. Machiavelli understood that the prince who explains himself constantly appears weak. Explanation is a defense, and defense implies you are being evaluated. The moment you accept evaluation, you take a subordinate position. When you overgive, you are constantly defending your value. You are continually proving you deserve to be there. You are operating in someone else's frame. You are in their court, and in their court, you will always lose. Here is how this shows up. Someone cancels on you at the last minute. You respond immediately. You say it is fine. You understand. No problem. You think you are being mature. You are not. You are signaling that your time has no cost, that disrespecting it has no consequence. Now imagine you do not respond right away. You let the message sit. When you finally reply, you are brief, calm. You do not explain how it made you feel. You do not ask for reassurance. You just acknowledge it and move on. What happens? They feel the gap. They feel the shift. They do not know if you are upset, indifferent, or reconsidering the relationship. That uncertainty is respect. That uncertainty makes them careful. You did not argue. You did not explain. You just refused to absorb the disrespect without consequence, and consequence does not have to be loud. It just has to be felt. This applies everywhere. At work, you are asked to take on a project outside your role. Usually, you say yes. You explain how you will make it work. You accommodate. This time, you pause. You say you need to check your capacity. You do not justify. You do not apologize. You just create a boundary. What happens? Your manager does not push. They consider the request more carefully. They might offer support, reduce the scope, or give it to someone else. You did not say no. You just did not say yes immediately. And that gap, that moment of uncertainty, shifted the power. You were no longer the automatic yes. You became someone whose time and energy had to be negotiated for. That is respect. In relationships, your partner assumes you will always handle the emotional labor. You will always be the one to bring up problems, to smooth things over, to stay calm and understanding. You stop managing their emotions. You stop filling the silence when they withdraw. You stop being the one who always reaches first after a conflict. You just exist, calm, unavailable for the role you used to play. What happens? They adjust. They have to, because the system they relied on stopped working. You did not punish them. You did not explain. You just stopped over-functioning. And when you stop over-functioning, the other person either steps up or reveals they never intended to. Either way, you win, because you stop wasting energy on someone who was never going to meet you. Here is the part most people cannot accept. Respect does not care about your goodness. It does not care about your intentions, your effort, or your heart. Respect is a response to boundaries, scarcity, and the possibility of loss. If you are always there, always giving, always accommodating, you are not respected, you are managed, you are a resource, and resources are used until they run out. The person who withholds, who creates space, who makes their presence conditional, is the person who gets treated carefully, not because they are better, because they are scarce, and scarcity creates value. You were abundant, and abundance is worthless. Now let me show you what happens when you do not fix this. You keep giving, you keep showing up, you keep proving, and one day you realize nobody ever asks how you are. Nobody checks in, nobody makes space for you the way you made space for them. You realize you are the therapist, the organizer, the emotional support, the backup plan. And when you try to pull back, when you finally set a boundary, people get angry. They call you selfish. They say you changed. They punish you for stopping what you should have never started, and you feel guilty. You feel like maybe you are the problem. You are not the problem. You were just never supposed to negotiate from a position of depletion. You were supposed to set terms early. You were supposed to protect your scarcity, but you gave it all away. And now you are trying to take it back from people who feel entitled to it. This is what Machiavelli meant when he said, "It is better to be feared than loved." He did not mean cruelty. He meant consequence. He meant people should know that disrespecting you, wasting your time, or taking you for granted has a cost. That cost does not have to be aggression. It can be a distance, silence, indifference, the quiet removal of your presence. That removal is more powerful than any argument, any explanation, any plea for respect, because it does not ask, it just is. And people feel it. They feel the shift, and they either adjust or they do not. If they do not, you have your answer, and that answer saves you years. Let me make this clear. This is not about withholding love. This is not about being cold for the sake of being cold. This is about refusing to overgive in environments that do not value it. This is about protecting your energy, your time, and your presence, so that when you do give, it actually matters. When you are selective, when you are scarce, when you are bounded, your presence has weight. People feel it when you show up. They notice when you do not. That is respect. That is value. You cannot have that if you are everywhere all the time, for everyone. You become noise, and noise is ignored. Here is your real-world challenge. Pick one area where you have been overgiving. One person, one environment, one dynamic where you are always the one initiating, accommodating, or overfunctioning. Stop. Just stop. Do not announce it. Do not explain it. Do not justify it. Just pull back. Watch what happens. Watch who notices. Watch who adjusts. Watch who does not. That data will tell you everything. It will show you who valued you and who valued your function. It will show you where you have leverage and where you have been giving it away. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. You will stop wasting energy on people and situations that were never designed to respect you. You will start operating from scarcity, from the boundary, from power. If you found value in this, share it. Subscribe if you want more. But do not do it to be nice. Do it because you understand that attention is currency, and you just spend yours here. If this hit you the way I think it did, write, "I am the strategist" in the comments. Just once, not for me, for you, to mark the shift. You are not the giver anymore. You are not the prover. You are the strategist. You are the one who understands that respect is not earned through effort. It is commanded through the boundary. And the boundary is not built by doing more. It is built by doing less, by withholding, by making your presence rare enough that people remember it. That is power. That is Machiavelli. That is you now.